Have you ever looked up at the night sky and thought about the invisible web of satellites orbiting our planet? They're up there, silently powering our modern lives. But what if, in a single terrifying moment, they all just disappeared? The first thing to go would be communication. Instantly, all satellite TV channels would go dark. No more live sports broadcasts from across the ocean, no 24-hour global news feeds. Satellite phones, the lifeline for journalists, explorers, and emergency responders in remote areas, would fall silent. Millions of people in rural communities, from the Australian outback to the Siberian tundra, connected to the world only by satellite internet, would be plunged into digital isolation. The constant flow of information that we take for granted would shatter. Imagine a world where a major event could happen on the other side of the planet, and you might not hear about it for days, or even weeks. That's the silence that would descend upon us. Next, navigation would be thrown into chaos. The Global Positioning System, or GPS, is more than just the little blue dot on your phone's map. It's the invisible hand guiding our entire global transportation network. In the skies, thousands of commercial airplanes are in the air at any given moment. Without GPS, pilots would lose their primary navigation systems mid-flight. They'd have to rely on older, less precise methods, increasing the risk of getting lost or worse. At sea, massive cargo ships, tankers, and cruise liners carrying millions of tons of goods and thousands of people would be adrift. Their automated navigation systems would fail, leaving them to navigate the vast oceans with charts and sextants, like sailors from centuries past. On the ground, every single one of us would feel it. Your car's navigation, ride-sharing apps, food delivery services, they all depend on GPS. We'd be back to paper maps and asking for directions, a skill many of us have long forgotten. The world's arteries of transport and travel would be instantly clogged. And the consequences would reach far beyond our daily convenience. National security would be critically compromised. Modern militaries are built around a satellite-enabled nervous system. These orbital eyes and ears are used for everything. Early warning systems that detect missile launches, high-resolution spy satellites that monitor troop movements and military bases, and secure communication networks that allow leaders to command their forces across the globe. Without them, nations would become blind and deaf. The ability to anticipate an attack would be drastically reduced. A country's leaders wouldn't know if a rival was preparing for war until it was too late. This sudden blindness would create an incredibly tense and unstable geopolitical situation where mistrust and paranoia could easily spiral into conflict. Then comes the economy. You might not realize it, but the global financial system runs on time. Incredibly precise time, synchronized down to the nanosecond by atomic clocks on GPS satellites. Every single credit card swipe, every stock trade, every international bank transfer is time-stamped. Without these satellite signals, the synchronization would be lost. ATMs could stop working, unable to verify transactions. The New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, the Tokyo Stock Exchange, they would all grind to a halt as high-frequency trading algorithms fail. Global trade would effectively freeze. The intricate dance of finance that underpins our modern world would collapse, triggering an economic crisis unlike anything we have ever seen before. And just when we think it couldn't get worse, we would lose our sight of the planet itself. Our ability to predict the weather is almost entirely dependent on a fleet of meteorological satellites. They constantly monitor the atmosphere, tracking the formation of hurricanes, typhoons, and tornadoes. Without them, we would have no advanced warning of incoming natural disasters. Imagine a Category 5 hurricane forming in the Atlantic and coastal cities having only a few hours' notice instead of a week to evacuate. The loss of life would be catastrophic. Our long-term understanding of climate change would also suffer. The decades of data on polar ice caps, sea levels, and deforestation, all collected from space, would cease. Farmers who rely on satellite data for crop management would be flying blind, threatening our global food supply. For the average person, the world would suddenly feel smaller, yet more disconnected. The internet, thankfully, would largely survive because it's primarily based on a global network of undersea fiber optic cables. But it would be a different internet, slower, more localized, and stripped of many of its real-time global features. The web of connections that makes our planet feel like a single community would fray. In the face of such a catastrophe, humanity's ingenuity would surely kick into gear. We would scramble to rebuild, launching new satellites as fast as we could. We might deploy high-altitude balloons and drones to create makeshift communication and observation networks. But the recovery would be slow and difficult. In the meantime, we would be living in a more fragile, more dangerous, and more disconnected world. It is a stark reminder that the invisible infrastructure holding our society together is floating hundreds of miles above our heads. Perhaps we shouldn't take it for granted. Thank you so much for watching. If this thought experiment made you think, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the fascinating what-ifs of our world. See you in the next one.